Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. Are you living the life you were meant to live? Not the life others expect of you, not the life that's comfortable. I mean, the life that makes you jump out of bed, heart pounding, soul on fire, knowing you're fulfilling your purpose every single day. If the answer is anything short of a screaming yes, then something needs to change. And guess what? Change doesn't take years, change happens in an instant. The moment you decide, the moment you say enough is enough, that's the moment your life begins to shift. You see, most people think change is hard, that it takes time, money, luck. Nonsense. Change doesn't come from information, it comes from transformation. And transformation starts when you raise your standards. You don't get what you want, you get what you tolerate. If you tolerate mediocrity, you'll live a mediocre life. If you tolerate excuses, your results will always be less than your potential. But when you demand more from yourself, when you commit, not just casually, but fully, emotionally, ferociously, that's when the universe starts to move with you. You want to change your life, then start here. 1, decide what you really want. Clarity is power. If you don't know what you're after, how can you ever expect to get it? Vagueness creates anxiety. Specificity creates momentum. 2, get hungry. Hunger is the fire that drives all greatness. I don't care how smart you are, how connected you are. If you're not hungry, you're dead in the water. But if you're starving for growth, for impact, for meaning, nothing will stop you. 3, take massive action. Don't wait. Don't overthink. Don't strategize yourself into paralysis. Momentum is magic. Once you start, your brain shifts, your emotions align, your identity begins to change. And here's the truth most people won't tell you. Your current life is a reflection of your past decisions. If you want a new reality, you need new decisions, new rituals, new standards, new beliefs. Stop telling yourself the old story. I'm not good enough. I always fail. I don't have time. Tell the story. Replace it with the truth. You are powerful beyond measure. You are capable of greatness. You are here to create, not survive. So right now, right here, make the decision. Not tomorrow, not next week. No. Change your story, change your standards, change your state. And you will change your life. Because when you show up different, life responds differently. When you believe in your vision more than your excuses, nothing can stop you. This is your time. This is your moment. This is your life. Change it. Change happens the moment you decide. It's not some long, drawn-out process that requires a lifetime of preparation. It's not about waiting for the stars to align or for the right time to show up. It's not even about having everything figured out before you take the first step. It's about that instant, that split second when you say to yourself with absolute certainty, no more. That's the moment when everything shifts. That's the birth of transformation. And that moment is available to you right now. Most people live their entire lives waiting for change to happen to them. They wait for something outside themselves to come and rescue them. A new job, a better relationship, more money, a mentor, a miracle. They sit around hoping something will come along and flip the switch. But here's the truth. You are the switch. You are the one who has the power to ignite the change. And the second you decide to, your life will never be the same. Decisions shape destiny, not conditions, not circumstances, not your past. One decision made with full commitment, with emotional intensity, can override years of doubt, fear, and delay. People massively underestimate the power of decision because they confuse it with preference. Saying I want to lose weight or I wish I could start my business isn't a decision, that's a wish list. A decision is final. It's backed by action. It's backed by resolve. When you decide, you cut off any other possibility except the one you've committed to. That's where the word decision comes from. De, off, and kiner, to cut. A true decision eliminates all other options. It is a point of no return. Most people don't change because they've never really decided to. They've flirted with the idea. They've talked about it. They've dipped their toes in the water. But deep down, they've left the back door open. They've created an escape route just in case things get uncomfortable. And guess what? If you give yourself an out, you'll take it. If you leave the option to fail, you'll use it. Change doesn't come when you make a mild, lukewarm commitment. It comes when you burn the boats and commit to the island. When your desire to change becomes bigger than your desire to stay the same. It's not about having all the answers. You don't need to know how everything will unfold. The how reveals itself once the decision is made. That's where most people get stuck. They try to plan every step before they move. They get caught in analysis paralysis. But life doesn't reward perfection, it rewards action. Clarity follows commitment, not the other way around. The fog lifts when you start walking through it. Before. Think about any moment in your life when you changed. I mean, really changed. It wasn't because someone handed you a manual and walked you through it step by step. It was because you hit a threshold. You reached that point where staying the same was no longer an option. It became more painful to stay where you were than to face the fear of change. That emotional tipping point is where real decisions are made. Not intellectual ones, emotional ones. You decided with every cell of your body that something had to change, and that's when it did. And it can happen in an instant. It often does. People quit addictions in a single moment. They walk away from toxic relationships in a heartbeat. They flip the switch and never go back. Not because they were stronger than others, not because they had more resources, but because they decided deeply, fully, without hesitation, that the old way was no longer acceptable. You might think change takes time, but what really takes time is getting to the place where you're finally ready to decide. That's the part people confuse with the actual transformation. They spend months, years, sometimes decades dancing around a decision, battling resistance, building frustration, but once the decision is made, the change is instant. It's like snapping out of a trance. Once you see clearly, you can't unsee it. Once you know what you must do, you can't unknow it. The shift has already happened. Your identity begins to evolve. Your standards rise. Your energy shifts. Your actions start to align. It all begins with one internal decision. There's incredible power in owning your life at that level, in refusing to play victim, in recognizing that no matter what's happened to you, you are still the author. You can pick up the pen and start writing a new chapter at any moment. The past is not the future unless you choose to drag it forward. Your story isn't over unless you stop writing. And the chapter can turn the second you say, that's it, I'm changing this now. But you have to want it more than you want the comfort of the old life. That's where the fire has to come in. You have to get emotionally disturbed by where you are. You have to feel the weight of what it's costing you to stay the same. The opportunities you're missing, the energy you're leaking, the confidence you're killing. When that pain becomes real, when it hits you in the gut, you'll finally move. Pain pushes until vision pulls. But both start with decision. And sometimes it's not even about pain. Sometimes it's just a realization that there's something more, that you're meant for something bigger, that life isn't meant to be endured, it's meant to be lived. And that spark of insight, that whisper in your soul, is enough to drive the decision. Once you taste that feeling of possibility, you can't go back to the numb routine of normal. You want to grow. You want to evolve. You want to live aligned with who you truly are. And that hunger fuels the change. Once the decision is made, it ripples out into everything. Your posture changes. Your tone changes. Your habits shift. You start surrounding yourself with different people. You speak differently. You dream bigger. People around you may not even recognize you anymore. And that's a good thing. Because change is not about fitting in. It's about breaking free. It's about realigning with your highest self and unapologetically stepping into the life you were meant to live. But again, it all starts with a decision. Not a wish, not a preference, not a hope, a real decision, one that's made with full emotional intensity, one that you follow through on with relentless action, one that becomes a new identity, not just a temporary behavior. Because when you decide at that level, nothing can stop you. Obstacles become stepping stones. Failure becomes feedback. Delay becomes fuel. You get what you tolerate. This simple yet profound statement holds the key to understanding why some people excel while others struggle, why some live extraordinary lives while others remain stuck in mediocrity. The truth is, life will give you exactly what you allow. If you settle for less, you will get less. If you tolerate dissatisfaction, you will continue to experience it. If you accept excuses, you'll get excuses. The world is not inherently unfair. The world responds to your standards, to the way you show up in it, to the level of demand you place on yourself. And if you're not happy with what you're getting, the first place to look is within, specifically at what you've been willing to tolerate. We live in a world where people are constantly seeking more success, more wealth, more love, more health. But the real question is, what are you tolerating in your life right now that is keeping you from achieving those things? What are you putting up with that is holding you back? The relationships that drain you, the job that doesn't fulfill you, the habits that sabotage you, the excuses that you make to justify why things aren't happening the way you want. We all do it. It's easier to make excuses than to face the uncomfortable truth about what we're tolerating. The reality is, when you tolerate something, you are choosing to stay in that situation. Even if you're unhappy, even if it's causing you pain, even if it's frustrating you, it's your decision to stay. And that's a hard truth for many people to face, but it's an empowering one if you can learn to accept it. When you acknowledge that you are the one who has allowed things to remain the way they are, you also realize that you have the power to change them. And you don't need permission from anyone else. You don't need external validation. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. The moment you decide to raise your standards and stop tolerating what doesn't serve you, that's when the magic begins. The problem with tolerance is that it often happens slowly without you even realizing it. You tolerate small things at first, tiny compromises that seem insignificant. Maybe it's putting up with a job that doesn't inspire you. Maybe it's letting people walk all over you or giving your energy to people who don't appreciate it. Maybe it's ignoring the warning signs about your health or your relationship. It's easy to tell yourself that these things don't matter, but over time, those little tolerances add up, and suddenly, you're living a life that doesn't look anything like the one you envisioned for yourself. The small compromises become big regrets. The things you were willing to accept become the things that haunt you. If you want to make a change in your life, the first step is to raise your standards. Stop tolerating things that aren't aligned with who you are or who you want to become. It's time to start demanding more from yourself and from the world around you. If you tolerate mediocrity in your relationships, that's exactly what you'll get. If you tolerate laziness in your work, your results will reflect that. If you tolerate poor health, your body will eventually rebel. What you tolerate, you become. And once you've made the decision to stop tolerating those things, you'll start to see your life shift in ways you can't even imagine. Now, raising your standards is not easy. It's not a one-time decision. It's a continuous commitment to yourself, to your growth, to your potential. It's about showing up every single day with a determination to not settle. It's about refusing to allow mediocrity to creep into your life, even in the small moments. The truth is, most people never achieve what they want because they don't require enough from themselves. They accept the status quo. They make excuses. They stay comfortable in their pain because the fear of change is greater than the fear of staying the same. But the moment you stop tolerating the mediocrity in your life, you'll start demanding excellence from yourself. You'll start taking bold action toward your goals, and your results will follow. It's also important to recognize that the people around you play a major role in what you tolerate. If you allow people to disrespect you, to take advantage of you, to treat you poorly, that's a reflection of your standards. If you tolerate negative energy, drama, or toxic relationships, You're choosing to accept those dynamics in your life. The quality of your life is in direct proportion to the quality of your relationship. If you're constantly surrounded by people who drain you, who don't support your growth, who don't respect your boundaries, that will have a direct impact on your success. The moment you raise your standards for the people you allow in your life, you'll see the shift. You'll attract people who elevate you, who inspire you, who challenge you to grow. And as your standards for others rise, so will your own behavior. You'll start treating yourself with the respect and love you deserve, and others will follow suit. Tolerating the wrong things also means tolerating a lack of growth. Many people become complacent with their own personal development. They settle for where they are instead of striving for where they want to be. They tolerate bad habits, negative thinking, and excuses for why they can't improve. But personal growth requires discomfort. It requires a willingness to face your fears, to confront your weaknesses, and to push through the resistance. It requires you to stop tolerating anything less than your best effort. If you want to grow, you must raise the standard of what you expect from yourself. You must demand progress even when it's hard. The moment you stop tolerating stagnation, you'll begin to see massive change in your life. There's also a deeper layer to tolerance, the idea that you are worthy of more. The reason many people tolerate less than they deserve is because they don't believe they are worth more. They believe that they don't deserve success, happiness, or abundance. But the truth is, you are worthy. You are worthy of the life you dream about. You are worthy of extraordinary love, abundance, health, and fulfillment. The moment you start accepting that truth, you will stop tolerating anything less than your best life. You'll stop settling for relationships that don't serve you. You'll stop tolerating a job that doesn't inspire you. You'll stop accepting a life of mediocrity, and you'll start demanding the extraordinary because you know you are worthy of it. When you stop tolerating the things that drain you, the things that limit you, the things that hold you back, you create space for what you truly deserve. You make room for the abundance, success, and joy that's been waiting for you all along. But it starts with a shift in your mindset. You must first acknowledge that you've been tolerating things that are not serving you, and then make the commitment to raise your standards. This is where real change begins. Clarity is power. When you have clarity, you have direction. When you have direction, you have focus. And when you have focus, you have results. Without clarity, everything in life feels like a blur. You're moving, but not toward anything specific. You're busy, but not productive. You're acting, but not with purpose. And that is the state that most people find themselves in. They're caught up in the noise of life, reacting to circumstances rather than proactively creating their reality. But clarity changes all of that. Clarity is what allows you to see exactly what you want, how you want it, and the steps necessary to get there. People often think that they need to wait for the perfect moment or the perfect plan before they can take action. But here's the truth. Clarity doesn't come from waiting. It doesn't come from searching endlessly for the right answer or the right time. Clarity comes from taking action. It comes from making decisions, from trial and error, from testing the waters. When you start moving towards something, even if it's small or imperfect, clarity begins to emerge. The fog starts to clear, the path becomes more defined. You see what works and what doesn't. You start to see opportunities where you previously saw obstacles. And once that clarity hits, you can't go back. You know where you're going, you know what needs to be done, you know what the next step is. One of the biggest challenges people face when it comes to clarity is they don't know what they really want. They get caught up in the expectations of others and what society says is success, in what their friends or family think they should do. They get lost in the opinions of others and forget to ask themselves what they truly want. They allow the noise of the world to drown out their own inner voice. And as a result, they wander through life unsure of their purpose, unsure of their direction, and unsure of their potential. If you don't know what you want, how can you possibly achieve it? If you don't have a clear vision for your life, how can you expect to create the life you desire? This is why clarity is so important. It gives you a vision. It shows you what's possible, what's worth pursuing, and what you're willing to fight for. Clarity allows you to set goals that are aligned with your true desires, not the desires of others. It lets you say yes to the things that will move you forward and no to the distractions that keep you stuck. When you have clarity, every decision you make becomes easier. You no longer waste time going down dead-end paths or chasing things that don't serve you. You start to filter out all the unnecessary noise and focus on what truly matters. And this focus allows you to work with purpose and intensity. When you're clear on what you want, every action you take becomes intentional. You stop wasting time on things that don't move you closer to your goal. You start to make smarter decisions. You start to act with confidence because you know where you're going, you have a clear target, and you're aiming straight for it. Clarity also helps you understand the why behind your goals. It's not enough to just know what you want. You need to understand why you want it. What's driving you? What's your deep motivation? This is where many people fall short. They set goals without fully understanding why those goals matter to them. They go after things because they think they should or because it's what everyone else is doing. But goals that are built on external validation or superficial desires won't sustain you. When the going gets tough, and it will, the lack of clarity around your why will cause you to quit. But when you have a deep understanding of your purpose, when your goals are rooted in your core values and desires, nothing can stop you. The obstacles become opportunities, the challenges become fuel, the journey becomes as rewarding as the destination. Clarity is also about knowing your boundaries. When you have clarity, you understand what is acceptable and what is not. You have the ability to say no to things that don't serve you, to situations that drain your energy, and to people who hold you back. It's about understanding where you need to draw the line, where you need to protect your time, your energy, and your focus. When you lack clarity, it's easy to say yes to everything and everyone, to be pulled in every direction and to burn yourself out. But with clarity, you get to decide where your energy goes. You become the gatekeeper of your time and attention. You learn to protect your vision and to honor your priorities. The other side of clarity is understanding that it's not something you achieve once and for all. Clarity is a continual process. As you grow, as you evolve, as you face new challenges and opportunities, your clarity may shift. What you were once clear about may no longer align with your current self. And that's okay. In fact, it's essential. Life is dynamic, and clarity evolves as you do. The key is to stay in tune with yourself and to regularly check in with your goals, your values, and your vision. This is how you ensure that you're always on the right path. It's how you adjust your course when things don't go according to plan. It's how you stay aligned with your purpose no matter what comes your way. A lot of people live in a state of constant confusion because they haven't taken the time to get clear. They feel lost, overwhelmed, or stuck. They're caught in the whirlwind of life's demands and are unable to move forward with intention. But clarity is not something that's reserved for the lucky few or the ultra-successful. Clarity is available to anyone who is willing to do the work. It's available to anyone who is committed to asking themselves the tough questions, to digging deep into their desires, and to acting with purpose. Clarity doesn't require perfection. It requires action. It requires commitment, and it requires you to be honest with yourself about what you really want and why you want it. When you have clarity, everything changes. You stop being a passive observer of your life. You start becoming the creator. You stop reacting to circumstances. You start designing your life with intention. And in doing so, you unlock your potential. You unlock your ability to create, to achieve, and to live a life of purpose. Clarity is the catalyst that drives all of it. Without clarity, you're just moving through life without a clear sense of direction. But with clarity, you're unstoppable. You have the power to turn your dreams into reality. You have the power to create the life you truly desire. And that power begins the moment you gain clarity. Hunger drives transformation. It's the spark that ignites the fire of change. Without hunger, there is no pursuit, no urgency, no energy to push through the barriers that stand between where you are and where you want to be. Hunger is not just about physical needs. It's about an internal, insatiable desire to evolve, to become more, to grow beyond your current limitation. It's the hunger that drives athletes to push their bodies to the limit. The hunger that propels entrepreneurs to work tirelessly to bring their visions to life. The hunger that fuels individuals to rise above mediocrity and create extraordinary lives. Hunger is a powerful force. It's the thing that pulls you out of bed every morning when your comfort zone is calling you to stay. It's the thing that pushes you to keep going even when you don't feel like it, when the road is tough and the results are slow to come. It's the thing that makes you refuse to settle for less than what you're truly capable of. Without hunger, you're like a ship without a rudder, drifting aimlessly, waiting for something to happen instead of making it happen. Hunger is the driving force behind every success story. It's what gets people up when they fall, what fuels their determination when they face setbacks, and what keeps them relentlessly pursuing their goals even when the odds seem stacked against them. The truth is, hunger is born from a deep dissatisfaction with the status quo. When you're content with the way things are, when you're complacent, there's no reason to change. But when something inside you says, this is not enough, that's when hunger begins to take root. It's born out of the desire to improve, to break free from the constraints of your current situation, and to create something better. Hunger is a direct response to dissatisfaction. It's a wake-up call that tells you that you're capable of more, that you deserve more, and that it's time to do whatever it takes to reach your full potential. For some people, hunger comes from pain. It comes from hitting rock bottom, from feeling like there's no way out, and realizing that the only way out is through relentless effort and determination. This pain becomes the fuel for transformation. It's what drives people to rise up, to refuse to accept their circumstances as permanent, and to take bold steps toward a better future. For others, hunger may come from inspiration. It comes from seeing the possibility of something greater, from being exposed to a vision of what life could be like if they pushed beyond their limits. They see others achieving greatness, and it sparks something within them. A desire to have that too, to achieve that level of success, to live that kind of life. The thing about hunger is that it's not passive. It doesn't sit back and wait for things to happen. Hunger is an active, insistent force. It demands action. It pushes you to take risks, to try new things, to step out of your comfort zone, to challenge your own beliefs and limitations. Without hunger, there's no urgency to act. There's no fire to drive you forward. But when you're hungry, you become unstoppable. You move with purpose, you move with confidence, you move with an unwavering belief that you are capable of more, and you are willing to do whatever it takes to get there. Hunger also has the power to transform your mindset. When you are hungry for change, you begin to see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth. You start looking at setbacks as lessons, at failures as stepping stones, and at difficulty as part of the journey towards success. Hunger shifts your perception of what's possible. It makes you more resourceful, more creative, more resilient. You don't give up easily because you know that the struggle is part of the process. You know that it's the pursuit of greatness that makes the end result worthwhile, not just the destination itself. But hunger also requires self-discipline. Without discipline, hunger becomes aimless. It becomes a wild desire without direction, a fire that burns bright but consumes everything in its path without producing any meaningful results. Discipline is what channels your hunger into focused action. It's what keeps you moving toward your goal even when you're tired, when it's hard, and when you feel like quitting. Discipline is what ensures that your hunger doesn't fade after the initial excitement wears off. It's what keeps you consistent, persistent, and determined no matter what. The key to sustaining hunger is to find something that truly excites you, something that lights a fire within your soul. Without a compelling why, hunger can fade into a vague longing or an unspecific desire. The most successful people in the world are driven by a deep, powerful purpose. They are not just hungry for success, they are hungry for meaning. They are driven by a cause greater than themselves, a vision that fuels them to push through every obstacle, to sacrifice short-term comforts for long-term rewards. When you find your true hunger, when you connect with a purpose that excites and inspires you, it becomes the most powerful force in your life. Sometimes, though, people get confused about hunger. They equate it with external things, money, fame, or recognition, and while these things can certainly be byproducts of success, they are not the true source of hunger. True hunger comes from within. It comes from a desire to reach your fullest potential, to live a life that aligns with your values, to make a difference in the world, and to create a legacy that lasts. When you are clear about your true desires, when your hunger is rooted in your values and your vision for the future, it becomes the most powerful force for transformation. But hunger isn't always easy to harness. It requires a certain level of discomfort, a willingness to push through the hard moments, to stay committed even when the rewards are not immediate. Hunger pushes you past the easy choices and into the realm of growth. It challenges you to sacrifice temporary pleasures for long-term fulfillment. And it demands that you remain focused even when things don't go according to plan. As you move toward your goals, hunger will constantly evolve. At times it will feel like an insatiable craving, a drive that pushes you to work harder, achieve more, and be better. Other times it will feel like a quiet determination, a steady pull that keeps you on track even when the journey gets difficult. But no matter how it shows up, hunger is the key to transformation. It's the force that propels you forward, that makes you rise above mediocrity, and that drives you to become the best version of yourself. It's the difference between wishing for a better life and actually creating one. Hunger doesn't wait for life to change, it forces life to change. It takes the raw material of desire and molds it into action. And that action is what leads to transformation. Hunger makes it all possible. Consistency is the bridge between your goals and your accomplishments. It's the unseen force that powers progress, the small, everyday actions that compound over time to create extraordinary results. The truth is, success is not built on massive one-time efforts or breakthroughs. It's built on the relentless pursuit of small, consistent actions over time. When you're consistent, you're not necessarily achieving greatness every day, but you're showing up, you're doing the work, regardless of how you feel, regardless of the obstacles, regardless of the setbacks. And when you show up consistently, day in and day out, you build momentum. Momentum turns small actions into massive outcomes. But consistency is the key that unlocks that momentum. Most people struggle with consistency because they expect immediate results. They set goals and take action, but when they don't see instant progress, they become discouraged. They give up. Or they look for the next quick fix, the next shiny object that promises faster results. But the truth is, success doesn't happen overnight. There's no such thing as a quick fix or a shortcut to lasting success. It's about doing the little things consistently, day after day, and trusting that over time, those small actions will add up. The small actions are the building blocks of success. The consistent habits you form are what create the foundation for everything else in your life. What makes consistency so powerful is that it's not dependent on motivation. Motivation comes and goes. There are days when you feel unstoppable, when the fire inside you is burning bright, and there are days when you feel like giving up. But consistency doesn't care about how you feel. Consistency is about commitment. It's about deciding that no matter what, you will continue to show up, to put in the work, to take the necessary steps toward your goals. It's about making progress, no matter how small, every single day. And it's that constant forward momentum that leads to extraordinary results. Consistency also helps you build discipline. Discipline is what keeps you going when motivation fades. It's what makes you do the work even when you don't feel like it. It's easy to take action when you're excited and motivated, but true discipline is about doing what needs to be done even when you don't want to. Discipline is a habit, just like consistency. It's something you develop by showing up day after day, even when it's hard, even when the results aren't immediately apparent. And the more you practice discipline, the easier it becomes to keep going, to keep showing up, to keep putting in the work. Eventually, discipline becomes second nature. It's no longer something you have to force. It's simply part of who you are. One of the reasons people struggle with consistency is because they overcomplicate things. They try to do too much at once, they set unrealistic goals, or they expect perfection. The truth is, consistency doesn't require perfection. In fact, perfection can be an obstacle to progress. People get so caught up in making everything perfect that they never take action. They worry about making mistakes, about not doing things exactly right, and as a result, they don't move forward. But the key to consistency is simplicity. It's about focusing on the actions that matter most, the ones that will move you closer to your goals, and committing to doing them every day. It's about being consistent, not perfect. Another reason people struggle with consistency is because they lack clarity. When you're unclear about your goals or your purpose, it's hard to stay consistent. You don't know what actions to take, or you're not sure if what you're doing is even getting you closer to where you want to be. But when you have clarity, when you know exactly what you want and why you want it, consistency becomes much easier. When you have a clear vision, every action you take has meaning. Every step you take is part of a larger plan. And that sense of purpose makes it easier to stay consistent. Clarity gives you the motivation to keep going even on the tough days. It reminds you why you're doing this in the first place. And that keeps you moving forward no matter how challenging the journey might be. Consistency is also a reflection of your values. What you do consistently shows what's important to you. If you're consistently investing in your health, for example, it's because you value your well-being. If you're consistently working on your business, it's because you value success and growth. If you're consistently nurturing your relationships, it's because you value connection and love. The things you prioritize consistently are a direct reflection of your core values, your beliefs, and your vision for your life. When you align your actions with your values, consistency becomes effortless. It's no longer a struggle to show up every day because you're doing what matters most to you. Another key to consistency is patience. It's easy to become discouraged when you don't see immediate results. You might put in the effort day after day, but if you don't see any progress right away, it can feel like you're not getting anywhere. But success doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. It takes time for the results of your consistent efforts to show up. The key is to trust the process, to keep showing up even when the results aren't immediate. With patience, you learn to trust that your efforts are not in vain. You learn to trust that the small actions you take each day are moving you closer to your goals, even if you can't see the results right away. And that trust is what allows you to keep going, to stay committed to the process, to keep showing up even when it feels like nothing is happening.